you also have the Postal Service, you have the FDA, you have all these different organizations that carry out through different parts of the country, from making huge salaries to low hourly wages, that are going to be affected by this. So it's sad. It really is sad that this is what it takes for people to understand the consequences of their choices, if you will. But thank you guys for the beginning of this discussion.
And thank you for the call in, Deborah.
Yes,
we really appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
And we wish you much success with dealing with this. I know this is not easy, and certainly we will certainly be praying for you and your employees. And thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So
Bye-bye.
we're gonna take this time to go into a break. And when we get back, we're going to have another guest on and continue this conversation about this government shutdown. We'll be back.
You're listening to Straight No Chaser. We'll be right back.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today...
The only thing I didn't learn today...
The only thing I didn't learn...
is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
The path to happiness is not the easy one, but taking drugs will not make it easier. Many people got lost and end up losing their life to drugs. If you or anyone that you know is within that path, don't be afraid to seek for help. Visit www.adk.gov.my for information related to drug abuse. So, know your path. This message is brought to you by the National Anti-Drugs Agency.
Where I wanted to quit, in the back of my mind, I told myself, I have to quit. And just that day, when I reached for that cigarette, I'll never forget it, with my son looking at me. And it was like a bolt of lightning hit me, where I finally realized the big picture of what year after year and cigarette after cigarette had done. And I said, that's it. I'm done. I quit. Took him a whole pack, brand new pack. Took him, threw him out the window, and I don't litter. But that's it. I'm done. I quit. No, it's going to kill me. It's going to be cancer. But I don't have to make it sooner than it needs to be. He was shocked, and he says, I really hope you mean that,
Mom. You're listening to Straight No Chaser. So let's get back to your girl MBZ, Pastor C, Thin Bad, and the Chief.
So we've been talking about the government shutdown and the impact that it's had on the entire country. As a former elected official, it's hard for me to imagine shutting down the state of Maryland because we couldn't get our act together and agree on stuff. The Maryland legislature had its share of difficult decisions that they had to make during my tenure, and there was a ton of disagreement on the pathways of resolution, but we all agreed that our citizens come first, and they should never face the possibility of shutting down the state government or going without pay. I'm at a total loss to figure out what the problem is. Each section of this government has a statutory authority, duties and responsibilities. And my question is, when will the suffering of the citizens who they work for going to be taken into account? A lot of times politicians will think that, the people work for them, but it's really the other way around.
That's right.
That's right. They work for us. And so this is all crazy. This is, affecting, travel. It will begin to affect things that we didn't even think that it would affect. I think our last segment, we were talking to someone about how they had daycare, and you imagine people who were normally at work were now at home and not taking their kids to daycare. Well, that's going to affect that daycare industry. How many folks in D.C. are dependent upon the D.C. workers, the federal workers, to bring their kids to their daycare thing? So it's going to have an effect that's going to reverberate like ripples in a pond. That you won't even know. We won't.
That's right.
Get the full impact of this until this is really done. But we've got someone on board now. I know a lot of people have concerns and thoughts about travel with regard to TSA. You see news stories where you see long lines wrapped around.
Sheesh! I have to travel on Friday. Yikes!
Right. So we've got someone on board that's can talk to us about that, and so we're gonna jump back in.
Yes.
Ambeezy,
we have our guest. So I would love our guest on the line to please introduce yourself.
Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hello. My name is Derek Ward, and I am a government worker. And I'd like to add a little perspective on this if it's possible.
Yes.
Yes, we'd love to hear from you.
We got to, yeah.
Good. Well, first and foremost, with this furlough, I do not see this furlough as whether it be a Republican shutdown and or a Democratic shutdown.
Right.
I see this shutdown in totality as a failure on our government to represent the United States of America.
Absolutely.
I do understand the President of the United States where he is stating that we do need border security. We do. I understand it. I've been down to the border. I've worked on that border twice. And I've seen illegals come across the border and come into the United States untouched. So I do agree with him. Where I am lost is why do we have to shut down the government and use the government workers as a pawn in the game? Because whether it be stated or not stated, the government is part of that wall. The government workers are the wall. We do so much in regards to national security holistically, and to use the workers as pawns in the game and to have their lives affected by this is really insulting.
Well, I have a couple of questions. And my first question is, although, border security seems to have been an issue, the more I start to look at these numbers, the more it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who wants to fact check, but just to me it seems that although we do have a lot of people illegally crossing our borders, when it comes to our true immigration issues, is that really where most of our immigration issues come from? Because I could have swore I read that it was from overstayed visas and things of that nature. So, I understand needing that security, but Trump has been given, to my understanding, Trump has been given money towards border security, to up border security, to the point where there are a lot of politicians who are reporting that the incidents regarding border security have been down the most in 20 years. So is it although it is necessary, to be on top of that, is it so necessary that we need to have this wall that we've been promised, to the point where we need to shut down the government? Like, I just don't understand why. I don't understand where this stigma that this wall is going to somehow save everybody from illegal immigrants is coming from. That's where I'm having trouble.
Well, I think that kind of goes to what the caller was saying, why they feel like pawns. Right. I think that absolutely. When you look at the information that's been provided, that there was monies provided for border security. I know there was some negotiations several months ago, and they actually had offered over $25 billion in consideration, and to consider also the plight of the DACA people as well. So there's been money going back and forth, and also there was money that was allocated that hasn't been spent. So there's just a whole lot of things going on. Definitely. But I guess when you look at all that, though, at the end of the day, those are policy things.
Absolutely.
And so we have to get back to the men and women that are protecting our country. And I mean, not just, the men and women that are serving in the military, but also the Coast Guard, the TSA, DEA, all of the other people that, when you combine them together, are what keep America safe. So from the caller's perspective,
right.
I certainly understand that. And caller, let me ask you this. What has the morale been
since this
thing has been going on and on and on and on? Can you kind of talk about that?
Well, from my morale, and in speaking with the people that I work with, morale is at an all-time low. Because what it looks like now is the take on it is, how do you view me as an employee? How do you view me as a citizen? How do you view me as a worker? Wow. Someone that actually does that 9 to 5 and supports the United States of America, regardless of what agency or what office we're in. So, sure. I take it back to that pawn. It looks like we're disposable. Are we needed? So whether you look at just an individual alone, and when they are taken for granted, they begin not to want to support you. So it takes your morale
me as
down.
A human being.
Right.
And where it goes even further, now you have to look at yourself as an individual, as a provider for a family. And then, some people are having to make life decisions. Do I get gas in my car?
Wow.
Or do I put food on the table for my family? And understandably so,